75% of all gun crime incidents have both a black perpetrator and a black victim. So in response to that, the Met set up Operation Trident and set up a Trident IAG, which is an independent advisory group, so members of the community to advise them about issues in the black community.
I have personally been dealing with gun crime for almost well over 20 years now, from the front lines of Chapeltown, Leeds, Handsworth, Birmingham, Notting Hill, Hyson Green, and here in London. We've been concerned about the disproportionate effect of what has been a drug-related, crack cocaine-related gun crime that has disproportionately affected black communities. In London, a group of us came together almost a decade ago from disparate areas of London, and we said enough was enough, that we were fed up of the fear that black communities were living in.
We have used everything from 48 sheet posters to get the issue talked about within the general public. We have used radio ads on Kiss FM and Choice FM. We've been long-standing radio partners. We know that's very powerful for us to get real-life stories across. We've used all sorts of ambient media, such as petrol pumps and on-street media. We've had one particularly interesting idea where we took a magazine and left it in barber shops that were frequented by young black guys with a hole piercing the whole of the magazine and an insert at the back of the magazine pointing out the fact that the bullet had been through lots of pictures of people in that title, and concluding with the thought that gun crime rips through the lives of many people. And there was a lot of debate at the time as to whether that was a media idea or a creative idea or a DM idea. One DM idea of the year at Campaign Direct, but we did prefer to think it was a great idea wherever it came from.
We've had to work hard for a budget towards advertisement, and we've had to work hard to secure a dedicated resource in terms of advertisement budget, specifically for tackling gun crime, particularly when there were a lot of other competing budgetary demands.
TV is often thought to be unaffordable for smaller advertisers, but actually I think the world has changed now, so that's no longer the case, if it ever was. There are enough relatively niche stations out there that you can use them in a relatively targeted way, and that's exactly what we did with the Met Police campaign. We chose a channel called Channel U that had great viewing figures amongst the target audience that we were trying to talk to young black guys in London, and we used that to build a really emotional case, dramatising what happens if you withhold information and how you would be guilty by implication if you didn't come forward with information about gun crime.
If you know someone's got a gun and don't report it, you could have blood on your hands.
What we found was that by year 3 there was still a hardcore of younger teenagers who were getting attracted to gun crime, and so that presented a new challenge, and we decided to move the targeting younger for the first time.
These kids need to hear these kinds of messages from people they see as credible. The police aren't necessarily credible. We're here to protect them, but at the end of the day, they don't want us telling them what to do.
So we decided to commission an anti-gun music track, and we contacted a band called Roll Deep, who are the kind of leading exponents in a type of music called grime that young kids in South London and other Trident areas are really into. And we got them to write this track, but we didn't have any Trident branding on it at all. So when we released it over the underground, to their MySpace friends and to select DJs, radio stations, clubs, record shops and so on, there was no inkling that this had anything to do with the Met Police at all.
This for the first time, certainly for the police in any event, to begin to use a music track. That took some time to get a sort of an appreciation, an agreement from the police to begin to use music as a form of advertisement.
There was actually never any profit made from the CD, so it wasn't actually for sale. It was all downloadable free of charge. I think it was available from Kiss's website. It was available and handed out at schools. There was Choice FM teams, street teams handed it out. So it was just there, it was available, and the campaign it created itself. There was the helping hand along the way, but it was these kids, they actually bought into the messaging and created debate about gun crime.
He kept squeezing, he's missing the point. He never had his head screwed on from a boy. City road with day when he's boy. Didn't realise then he was with the wrong crowd.
we specifically left the Met Police out of it until the very last minute. Because with this kind of approach, we actually want it to be removed as much as possible. You know, the emphasis of anti-guns comes out, and Trident is definitely mentioned. I think that's an even bigger trick to pull off, because we're actually trying to keep the story covered up to a degree. In that respect, I think it was a great piece of unbranded content, if you will.
Wait and see. Got a gully little friend, little gully man, gully with a leng. Villa knows that he's bait in the end, and he lives for the road more time in pen. He's blessed with me, but God's not reaching.
The way that we released the video, which was a 4-minute piece filmed by Jake Nava, who's a top pop promos director, was to use YouTube and other online channels to get the film across.
We knew we had a great asset on there, and the trick is to then start making it live outside in the real world. So uploading it onto YouTube and getting it released, and kind of giving it a life of its own, really helps to extend the reach of the campaign over the bought TV advertising. So allowing it to kind of seed it and let it live, be it online, be it on MTV or whatever, is just a really great way of taking a very small budget and making it kind of blast all over the place, which is what we need.
TV also has an amplifying effect. You know, by seeing a campaign on television, that makes people want to find out more online, and then they go to the website and they might watch more of the campaign. They might sign up to an online petition. So television can be a great catalyst for getting people to get involved with other parts of the campaign.
YouTube and the whole ability to download the whole video was important. So we put it on our own website, and of course we put it on the websites that related to places like Channel U, like Choice FM on their website, on YouTube, and of course young people were beginning to share this themselves amongst each other. So one email could at a switch of a button is going out to 100 people.
People like MTV, Channel U and news broadcasters actually wanted to use it and so on. So when you talk of free media space and free bang for your buck, then this campaign kind of really helped in that sense.
31% of young black Londoners saw some form of editorial coverage of the campaign. There were 166 blogs discussed the campaign online, and it's been a massive success story. I think at latest viewing there's probably about 500,000 people have watched that video. It's one of the top performing virals of the whole of the year. Since the campaign began, there's been an 86% increase in the number of people coming forward with information about gun crime in London, which is a huge uplift on any terms, but especially because gun crime has actually fallen quite significantly over the period too. The Home Office estimates that every murder cost the taxpayer about £1.5 million. And so if you take our campaign that was running for 3 years, it more or less pays for itself twice over if it will save a single life.
I think our work has helped to build bridges with the black community. There's definitely more interaction between them and the police.
We're quite surprised when we saw the latest data which shows that black people in London actually are at least as positively disposed to the Met Police, if not probably more so, than their white counterparts. So although there's still a job to be done, the issue of trust is becoming much less of a problem for the Met going forwards.
It was a big risk for the Met to do this, but I think the fact that it was actually going to be very well targeted, and it was going to be under the radar of the broadcast media, helped influence senior officers in a huge way.
If you can imagine going to the Metropolitan Police and saying, our idea for spending all of your money for this year is to divert all the funds away from media and into the production of a music track from a band called Roll Deep that none of us have heard of, who are experts in a genre that we've never heard of, and we're not going to have any branding on it for 6 weeks. That was quite a difficult conversation to have, but fair play to them, they were fantastic, and I think the end result justifies their bravery.